Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Amanda and this is Birch and Lily, where I talk about all of the crafty goodness that I get up to over the past couple weeks. Today is a little bit different of an episode. I am going to be showing you how to fix a drop stitch in your knitting. There are multiple different ways that you can do this, and I'm going to try my best to show you all of those today. So, before we get started, the couple things that you will probably need, obviously your knitting. You're also going to want to have a crochet hook on hand and some sort of interlocking stitch marker. I love these light bulb ones, they're my favorite and they're very reasonably priced, but you have lots of options available out there as long as it is an interlocking one like this. Okay, so you dropped a stitch, you have all of these beautiful ladders going. The first thing that you are going to want to do is take that stitch marker and just grab the stitch that has dropped, so you know that it's not going to drop any further. For me, I know dropping a stitch can be kind of stressful, so this is a really good way to just make sure that you can take a break and not worry about it dropping any further and come back to it when you're in a better frame of mind. So let's start with the crochet hook. How do you fix your knitting with a crochet hook? The first thing you're going to want to do is insert the crochet hook from the front of the stitch to the back. You can take this stitch marker off now. Won't need that anymore. And all you're going to do is spread this apart, and you can see all these different ladders. So that is every row of knitting that this stitch has dropped. So you're going to find the one closest to your drop stitch, stick your crochet hook under that ladder, and you just pull it through. And do that again. So my next ladder is right here. I'm going to stick the crochet hook under it and pull it through. My next ladder, crochet hook under it, pull it through the drop stitch. And one more time here. Here's my ladder, my crochet hook goes under, and I pull it through. So now I have got all the way back up to where the rest of my knitting is. So I can slide my left needle over so I can just pick up my fixed stitch off of the crochet hook, and you're good to start knitting again. Now you might find that the stitches get a little wonky looking or awkward. You can yank on them a little bit like this, and that will help fix it some, but don't be too concerned. Once you block your knitting, that should fix the issue for you, and you should be just fine. So the next thing we're going to fix is a dropped purl stitch with a crochet hook. So let me drop this down one more time. Now with a purl stitch, the best way to think of this, when you're purling, the yarn is always in front. So when you're fixing a purl stitch, you want the ladder to be in front. So you'll move that in front of your drop stitch. And this time you're going to stick your crochet hook through the back of the drop stitch. Pick up this ladder that's in the front. This can be a little bit awkward. Sometimes turning it upside down helps a little bit. I'll usually hold my drop stitch with this finger, my right hand, and then pull it through. And you have a purl. So let's do that again. This is where it gets a little awkward. So grab that drop stitch and just hold it there with your left hand. And you want to slide the ladder over top, pick it up from the back of the drop stitch with your crochet hook, pick up the ladder. Like I said, I like to flip it upside down. It just makes it a little bit more comfortable for me. Move the drop stitch up here and hold it tight, and pull the ladder through. Let's do that again. hold the drop stitch, and then slide the ladder over top of it, come in from the back, I like to flip my knitting just to make it a little easier. Crochet hook goes under that ladder and pulls it through the drop stitch. Another purl. Okay, one more time. So I'm going to take the drop stitch, go under the ladder so the ladder is in front of my knitting. So back to front of knitting through that drop stitch. Pick up the ladder with the crochet hook so they're both on top of your crochet hook, and whoop, and pull it through. And of course this one's going to be difficult. There we go. So once again, now you're ready to just pop that stitch back onto your needle. And you fixed a whole bunch of purl stitches. So now that I've shown you how to do that with a crochet hook, you can also fix a drop stitch without a crochet hook. This is usually how I will do it just because I don't usually have a crochet hook handy. And it's just as simple. So let's drop down again. And once you get comfortable with this, drop stitches are literally nothing. Okay, I apologize if my angle has changed a little bit. I ran out of space on my phone. So let us start with fixing a dropped knit stitch without a crochet hook. The first thing you're going to do is take your right hand needle here. You're going to pick up your drop stitch from the front to the back, and you're going to find the next ladder that you need. This can be a little bit harder just because it's a little fiddly. It might be easier to figure out where that ladder is first, and then pick up your stitch from the front to the back. Then you're going to pick up that ladder, go underneath it and pick it up. And now you have both of those sitting on your right hand needle. You're going to take the drop stitch and pull it over top of your right hand needle. Now, sometimes you might notice that the stitch got a little twisted. If that happens, I will usually, it didn't happen this time, but if it happens, I'll just drop down again and switch the orientation of this stitch if I picked it up wrong. But if you go from the front to the back, you should have no issues and it should lay correctly. So front to the back, grab my first ladder, take my left hand needle, pull the drop stitch over the ladder. There's one stitch. Pick up my next ladder. Drop stitch is still on my right hand needle, and we're going to pull it from the front to the back. There's our next one. Grab your ladder again. Here's your drop stitch. I'm going to pull it over top of the ladder. There you go. And one more. Pick up our ladder, take your left hand needle, pull the drop stitch over top and off, and all fixed. And again, it takes some shuffling. You gotta wiggle it around to get it to lay right, but you have fixed your drop stitch. And if it does stay looking funny like that, once again, blocking will resolve that issue, so don't worry. Now, let's move on to fixing a purl stitch without a crochet hook. Okay, so again, think of a dropped purl stitch like when you're purling. You always want the yarn in front. So what I will do usually, again, pick up the stitch from the front to the back and stick it on this needle, and then go and pick up your ladder. So now, obviously, your ladder is still behind your drop stitch. So I'll just quickly move these two stitches from the right hand needle to the left hand needle, grab my ladder, pull it over top of the drop stitch, and now it's in front. So next what you're going to do, like before, drop stitch is already on my right hand needle. I'm going to pick up that ladder, but this time from the back of the ladder to the front. And now this can be a little bit fiddly. You're going to want to go over top of the ladder with your left hand needle and get in between, or through rather, that drop stitch. So again, left hand needle through the drop stitch, and then I just pull it over top and off, and you have a pearl. One more time. Here's my next ladder. It's oriented wrong because I'm wanting to do a purl stitch. So I'm going to slide both those stitches to my left hand needle so that I can take my ladder and pull it over top of my drop stitch. Move the drop stitch back to the right hand needle, pick up my ladder from the back to the front, get in between and through my drop stitch, and pull it up over my ladder. Oopsies, my yarn is splitting a little bit. Up over my ladder and off the needle if it will cooperate. Up and over and off. Once again, I have my drop stitch on the right hand needle. I'm going to find my next ladder and pick it up from the front to the back. They are oriented wrong, so I'm going to slip both of those stitches to my left hand needle so that I can pick up my ladder and pull it over top and off of my dropped stitch. So now my ladder is in front, which means I'm set up for a purl. I'm going to pick up that ladder again and put it on this right hand needle, but this time from the back to the front. And then I'm going to go over top of that ladder so that I can pick up my drop stitch one more time and pull it off and over. So that is how you fix a dropped purl without a crochet hook. Now there's one other thing that I do want to show you. How do I fix my knitting if I have a drop stitch and I didn't notice it and it's too late and I've knit past it? So let me get set up for that and I will show you. Okay, so I have a drop stitch that I did not notice when I was knitting. Once again, first thing I'm going to do is just put that drop stitch on a stitch marker so that I don't have to worry. Then I can kind of inspect what is going on here. So obviously I have all these ladders and then I've knit past it, and I don't want to work backwards to be able to pick up and fix this drop stitch. All you're going to do is fix it like you normally would until you run out of ladders. So I'm going to use my crochet hook for this. I can remove my stitch marker now because I picked up the drop stitch with my crochet hook. I'm just going to find my first ladder, pull it through, pull it through. Okay, so I've ran out of ladders, and obviously I still have this awkward loose stitch. Put that stitch back onto your stitch marker, and I would just leave this until you are ready to weave in all the ends on the rest of your project, but obviously I will show you right now. Usually I'll take this stitch marker, and this is kind of why I like the light bulb ones as well, because I can just shove it through the hole in my knitting so that it comes to the back side and it pulls that drop stitch with it. So now it kind of just looks like you have decreased a stitch. A lot less noticeable than a big hole. So then what I would do to resolve that situation, flip my work. I'm going to use a contrast color here just so it's easier for you to see, but obviously you would want to use the color you're using for your knitting if you're fixing this yourself. So I'm going to take a darning needle with some extra yarn. I'm going to stick the darning needle through that stitch. Again, you can remove the stitch marker now. I'm going to pull the yarn through so that I have a tail hanging on either side of that stitch. Then all I would do is weave in the ends of both of those tails into my knitting, and this stitch will be nice and secure and in place. So hopefully that helps you out if you have some drop stitches in your knitting. If you do have any questions though, feel free to ask me down below. I'm happy to help you. If you liked what you saw today in this video, or if I did help you out, please consider subscribing and hitting the like button, and I will see you all next time. Bye!